I know Linda is going to do a history lesson for us today as we continue to commemorate our 100th year as a congregation here in Belmont Shore. And today, I believe we're learning about the 1970s. All right. So disco, start doing the hustle in the pews if you really want to. Go for it. There we go. I like this. Okay. Come on over, Linda.
More talented than I am on this. I knew Paul Lance, many of us did. He designed the stained glass windows in the Louise Henry Chapel. So, quite a loss. All right, the 70s, which would have been 50 years ago, so some of us remember them. The presidents were Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, and Jimmy Carter. So about as 3 different personalities as you could find. In California, Ronald Reagan started the decade and Jerry Brown finished the decade. So again, 2 opposites. Our mayor was Edwin Wade and Tom Clark. And I think some of you might remember him. The population of Long Beach was 358,000, and it only grew by 2,400 in the whole decade. So I don't know if we were built out or I don't know. Another tumultuous decade in the world. Most of our troops were out of Vietnam in 1972, but bombing continued until the peace treaty was reached in 73. The military draft ended in 73. And then in 73, we were subjected to an oil embargo, and prices of gasoline were sky high. Nixon imposed daylight savings time year-round and then had to rescind it because people didn't like being in the dark in the morning when they got up. In 1972, a gallon of gas was 36 cents a gallon, which is $2.51 in today's dollars. By 1979, it was 86 cents a gallon, or $3.52. And those were the days when you drove into the gas station and somebody came out and checked your tires and washed your windows and checked your oil and put the gas in your car, and you just kind of sat there and didn't have to do anything. So I don't know what we got for self-serve. President Nixon resigned and Vice President Gerald Ford became president. When Jimmy Carter defeated Ford in the next election, he put solar panels on the White House to save energy. Ronald Reagan removed him as soon as he became president. And the music of the decade was disco, right? Short-lived. In Long Beach, the downtown merchants were suffering because shoppers were going to the malls and to the burbs. And so in 1976, a group of people hosted the first Long Beach Grand Prix, which was Formula One racing in the streets of Long Beach, in an effort to revitalize the city. And in Bay Shore, we were a part of the tumult. In 1970, Reverend Gabrielson was 60 and starting his 34th year. We had completed Sky Forest and dedicated it as a retreat center. But financial problems were continuing. Remember, I told you that Al Watts used to ask people to pay early so that we could make payroll. So they finally decided they would just take out a loan on the manse. We owned a home at the time that was used by our associate pastors, and we had to take out a loan to meet payroll. In 73, Milt Gabrielson started having major health issues, and in 71, we recommended that he only have 1 service every Sunday. And that lasted for a few months, and he couldn't help himself, and he went back to 2. So he renegotiated his contract and stated he wanted to retire in 1973. From May until July of 72, he was on sick leave. In June of 73, he did retire, And a year later, in 1974, he died of a heart attack while on vacation. He was 64 years old. In 1974, someone set fire to the church library. At that time, it was upstairs, like where the robing room is for the ladies. And the minister's office was upstairs. And so after that fire, they decided it was perhaps a really good idea to move all those offices downstairs because there's only one stairwell. And if we had to get people out, it would have been difficult. In 1975, Ken Coates became our new minister. He was the opposite of Gabrielson in many ways. Reverend Gabrielson built buildings, Ken built community. Ken was fair-haired and soft-spoken. He always had a joke and many times just burst into song. His passion was social justice. Ken was at the end of his career when he joined us. He had been at several churches and had just completed a missionary assignment in Japan. Ken and his wife Barbara quickly became part of the community and the city of Long Beach. Ken rode his bicycle everywhere, to community hospital. If he came to visit one of you in your home, he was on his bicycle. Think Schwinn, don't think 10-speed with derailleurs, just Ken on his bicycle. I don't even remember if he had a helmet. At one point, he asked the Business Affairs Commission if they could buy him a new tire. Because money wasn't Ken's thing, you know. Ken was concerned about people. And I want to go back a little bit to the conflict in Vietnam, because in 1975, many of you remember the last evacuation of Saigon, and the number of Vietnamese people who were trying to get out because they had helped the Americans. And they loaded themselves in these boats and somehow got out in the ocean, and our Navy picked them up, and a lot of them were brought to Camp Pendleton. Shortly after Ken arrived, our congregation adopted one of those families from Camp Pendleton. We rented them a house, we got it furnished, we gave them clothes, food. The children enrolled in school. 4 of them were enrolled in the local colleges. The father was hired for a job, and within 1 year, they were able to move out on their own and purchased a house with a loan from us, and in 4 years, that loan was paid back in full. So, quite an accomplishment. Ken believed that Christians had a moral duty to be involved in politics. So after church in the fellowship hall, there was a table set up to write letters to Amnesty International. There were petitions to sign, ballot measures to review. He led seminars on understanding other religions. His confirmation classes attended services at churches other than Protestant sometimes. And he told me once, I don't want them to choose this church if they don't know what else is out there. Oops, wait a minute, lost a page, sorry. Here we go. Now I'm really lost, sorry.
1977.
Oh, are we in 70? We're not in 77 yet. We're in 74, we're back. All right, in 1974, Long Beach Church Women United sponsored a forum at Bayshore Church on the problem of hunger in the world and our community. A few months later, the first citywide hunger walk was initiated March 8th, 1975, by this person called David Reed, who was the pastor of First Congregational Church in downtown Long Beach. 2,000 people approximately showed up to walk 20 miles, and they raised about $20,000 to $30,000, I think the paper said. It probably didn't hurt that Tippi Hedren walked with them, right? I don't know how you pulled that off, David. But this was a project that was near and dear to Ken and Barbara. And as soon as they got here, Barbara got busy with the people trying to organize a food bank. Ken and David served together on organizing the Hunger Walk, and when they opened the food bank, Barbara became the executive director. So we, as a congregation, supported this mission by every Sunday you brought a can of food to church, or every time you went to a meeting you brought a can of food. That was your entry into the service of what Ken wanted to do. And this was his gift to us. Gabrielson built buildings, as I said before. Ken built community. Had no clue how much money we had. People would show up to ask for money or food, and Ken would hand them a broom and make them sweep the sidewalks around the whole church, and then he'd take money out of his own pocket and give it to them. So it was truly a different than being under Milt Gabrielson. And we truly follow the Depart to Serve painted above our sanctuary doors. Thank you.